Hello and good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Daily Whatever Show. Welcome to a very special, fine feminist takeover of the Daily Whatever Show. I am Dana DuBois, and I will be your host here every Thursday. For those of you who might have missed the announcements Lawrence and I have been making about this, the Daily Whatever Show is doing a little bit of tweaking to our programming, in that Lawrence and I are each having a special takeover day, one day per week. Mine is Thursdays, and I will be hosting Fine Feminists every Thursday here on the Daily Whatever Show. Lawrence will start his takeovers next week, and his will be every Monday, and he will be focusing on queer topics and issues and creators. And it was a really interesting path to come to this decision because, of course, Lawrence is a feminist and I am an ally. But we realized that we each had kind of deeper topics and a wish to bring in additional guests, and that we would be best served doing that if we each took the lead on a day. So this is the first time we're doing one of these. It is very strange to see Lawrence on the other side of the live in the chat, but I'm so glad to see you here, Lawrence, and to see everybody else here. I wanted to do a little backstory about why Fine Feminist, and then I'm going to bring on my special guests today, Melissa Corrigan and Rachel from This Woman Votes. I cannot think of two finer women to bring on for the debut episode. We are going to be diving into the SAVE Act and into a story that Melissa and I co-authored for Blue Amp this morning. But before we get into those details, a quick kind of summary announcement of what Fine Feminist is and what you can hope to find here. I do have some notes over here, so you'll see me checking them. But why this show exists. So I'm Gen X. I think you all know that. I came of age with freedoms that the women before me did not have, new legislation, new cultural norms that I have spent my life benefiting from and enjoying, things like, bodily autonomy, with the passage of Roe v. Wade and abortion care being legal, the law of the land. Financial independence. I didn't realize until well into adulthood that when I was a baby, women were not allowed to take mortgages out on their own, to have car loans on their own, to have credit cards on their own. This kind of financial independence obviously is critical to being a fully functioning human in a capitalist society. I took these norms as givens, things that could never go away. No fault divorce, that was another big one. The ability to simply say, I'm not happy and I no longer want to be in this marriage. Um, just the overall assumption that our lives could be self-directed and that we had equal protections in those things. There are plenty more examples I can list, but those are the top ones. And they are the ones that we're all watching erode in real time in front of us. What's happening culturally around us? We see, of course, the loss of Roe v. Wade in Trump 1.0. I knew election night. That was the very first thought that I had was Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned on that terrible night back in 2016. And I know a lot of you on this live probably felt the same way. And I'm guessing you got a similar response to what I got, which was like, you're being emotional. That's never going to happen. It's the law of the land. And yet we knew, the Republicans, the MAGA Republicans in particular, they worked over 40 years to reverse this law, slowly, surely, and electing Trump was the final straw. It was getting the Supreme Court shifted during his tenure. But it's more than just Roe v. Wade. We are now in Trump 2.0. We are seeing a shift in the cultural conversation that I am deeply uncomfortable with. We'll just say uncomfortable at a minimum. We're seeing an increasingly hostile media narrative about women and about feminism. That's the word I keep hearing repeated in these softball news stories that are just cultural conversations that are being presented as very, but what if, both sides, and they're bringing in people to discuss topics on major news outlets like, is feminism ruining the workplace? Is feminism harming women? And these are not neutral questions. We, as a people, as a culture, should not be asking questions like this. Because once these questions are being debated, our very humanity is being debated. So this show is in part a response. Yes, it is. It is my outrage to these stories that I am seeing out there. But I don't want to just be responding. I want to be helping to guide the cultural conversation about what it means to be moving through this world as a woman in 2026. And yes, we'll be talking about politics on this show, but I want to get into it. I want to get into dating, relationships, sex, parenting, family, work, power, all of the ways in which the devolution of feminism in the cultural conversation are impacting all of those kind of major life pillars for all of us. So, yeah, I see Rachel is putting the acronym AWFUL in here: affluent, white, female, urban, liberal. I was playing with the word awful as I was trying to come up with a name for this show, and I didn't want to borrow an acronym from Erica Kirk. I believe Erica Kirk coined awful, and she is awful lowercase, not an acronym. Um, I cannot fathom that being affluent, white, female, urban, and liberal, none of those should be pejoratives. Those are all neutral or positive things. So if they want to call me awful, that's fine. But this is a narrative that is deeply dangerous. The people, and especially the women who are pushing it, like the Erica Kirks, like the Barry Weisses, are like so profoundly hypocritical. It makes my brain hurt because here they are working outside the home, earning lots of money. I assume they have cars, homes, and credit cards. They're benefiting from what they're for being shills for this kind of language for the administration, and they're benefiting in ways that are antithetical to what they're preaching. So that breaks my brain. I don't know about yours. I am sure these are going to be frequent discussion points here on this show. I want to give a quick nod to the name, Fine Feminist. Feminist Killjoy has already been branded, so I can't, even though Lawrence made me this awesome t-shirt, and I do love the expression, there's a book, there's other people using the term, and so I didn't feel right giving that name to the show. Fine Feminist, it is a little killjoy, and it's a little tongue-in-cheek because I have found myself online being in a position to have to defend the word feminist or my self-identification as a feminist. So it's a little bit to be spoken as fine, I'm a feminist. Like you win in a very tongue-in-cheek way, but it's also, fine. I'm a fine feminist. We're all feminism is hot. It's sexy. It's fine. So I do love the double meaning there, and that's why this is the name. And with all of that, I would like to add our first guest onto the show, Melissa Corrigan. I saw you in the chat. This is an old school through Substack live because Lawrence, my delightful co-host, is keeper of our StreamYard account. And so I don't have access yet. So we're going to do this old school. Wait for Melissa to join. Hi, Melissa. There you are. Oh, look at your t-shirt too.
Of course.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. How are you today, Melissa?
I'm great. I'm great. I got to do a plug real quick. I'm wearing my
Do it.
earrings my husband got me for Christmas.
Delightful.
We have RBG and a little quote from RBG. And the coolest thing is this is a Substack artist. Her handle is Beware of Artist. And I love her work because she is a blue dot in a deep, deep red state. my home state of South Carolina. So if you're on Substack, go over to Beware of Artists and give her some support.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's amazing. We need to get that URL out.
Oh, yeah,
We'll do it when we recap the live. But if you have it and are able to put it in the chat, that would be fabulous. Speaking of the chat,
yes.
with the kerfluffle of me joining and having no audio for the first few minutes, which typical me, man. Thought I had all my ducks in a row here, but no.
I'm like texting you, like, hey, no sound.
Oh my God. Can you imagine if I'd done the entire intro and then went to introduce you and you came on and you were like, Dana, you have no sound. Nobody's heard a word you said.
Nobody heard a word you said. But what
Uh,
an appropriate opening to a feminist show, because don't women just speak and it's like we can't get heard?
I'm
The
going to take,
the
yes, let's just
symbolism
say
there
it
was
was,
gorgeous. It was performance art, Dana. That's what it was.
absolutely, let's just go with that. It was performance art. And yeah, it was me making a statement about how women are and our voices are being throttled.
Yes, that's what it
Something
was.
like that.
All intentional.
I am in the chat now. Let me come over here and say a quick hello. I will not be able to chat too much while I'm hosting, but I did want to come in and say a quick hello. Melissa, I don't think there's probably a person in our audience who doesn't know who you are, but just in case, can you please introduce yourself to the whatevers?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I am Melissa Corrigan. I am my company is Counter Story Media, and I also work with Blue Amp Media. So my work exists to audit the narrative. So that's what I do, one story at a time.
I love that. And we have talked a bit about our origin story on this show before. You are a frequent guest on the Daily Whatever show, but since this is the debut of Fine Feminist, I do want to give a nod to, I feel like our story is a very feminist story
It is.
where we found each other on Medium. I had a brand new publication called Pink Hair and Pronouns and was very hopeful to find other parents of gender nonconforming kids who wanted to read and especially to write.
Hmm.
And I think you found it within like a week of me putting up my shingle saying,
Yeah.
hi, this is
My
here.
husband found it actually, which is wild.
That's amazing, and I love men being part of a good feminist origin story, and
Yes.
you wrote me and sent in a story that was still one of the best stories I've ever read or had the joy of publishing on one of my publications, and from there, it was just like, we're allies in all of this, and I feel like we have been helping and support each other across platforms and across publications for almost 3 years now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is. So I'm super honored that you're here on day 1 and taking a chance on my
Oh,
wish
there's
to
no
be
taking a chance on a Dana project. Like, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
oh,
Yeah,
Melissa, you're gonna make me cry. Um,
it's true.
yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's already on the Daily Whatever show, and so it's not like I'm starting from 0. I'm already starting here
Mhm.
on this beloved home Lawrence and I have created together. I wanna get into the SAVE Act and to talk a bit about this story that we wrote. I have thank you, Karen is moderating our chat. Speaking of feminists and allies and all of
Oh,
this,
amazing.
Karen is wonderful and is saying to support and subscribe to your channel. There is a link, and she's saying to send love. So please send up your hearts for Melissa. I know we have learned from Substack that if you put hearts in a live, it does tend to amplify it. It does. I
Oh,
only
good.
know this anecdotally. There's no way to test it in any formal way, but it does seem like there they are. If a bunch of hearts come in, see, we already got one new person
My
joining.
kids are very supportive of my work, and they watch a lot of my
Yes,
lives and stuff, and the thing that they sort of joke me about the most is my stuttering and, like, not it doesn't come inherently to me to be like, "Smash those hearts, everybody,"
right.
you know? And they
Same.
laugh at me when I do that stuff, and they're like, "You little Twitch streamer, mom."
Oh my gosh, I love
Yeah.
that your kids are so supportive of your work. That's
They are.
amazing. And
Well,
I
my
love that
son
they
is
teach you.
now interning for Blue Amp. He's doing video editing for us. So
Oh
that's
my
another
God.
dynamic of like an interesting power dynamic where he's an adult at this point. So we're like kind of friends, but I'm also like, and I need to discuss with you about those videos that I
Right.
need by 5.
Yeah. Well, you're giving him
It's
work
fun.
exposure and he's helping you
Yes.
out. It's like symbiotic and he's getting to know you as a, not just a mom, but as a
As a
force of
person. Yeah.
nature coworker that you are. So I'm all in favor of that. I think that is
Yeah.
amazing. And speaking of Blue Amp, I am putting this link in the story. This is a fresh, like hot off the press story that we co-wrote
Yes.
on Blue Amp. It went live an hour and 20 minutes ago at 6 a.m.
Mhm.
my time, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And first of all, this was my first co-written story. So thanks for doing that with me. Um,
I need to stop you because this is a feminist live and this just popped up. I've never seen this before on Substack. It just
what?
offered me a beauty filter.
What?
Fuck you, Substack. It
Wait,
just popped new beauty filter. Holy
no.
shit.
Wait,
No,
I don't.
thank you.
Are you on your phone or your desktop?
I'm on my phone.
Me too. I didn't get it.
My God.
They're like, "You're helpless." So it's wait, can you put it on? Did you already delete it?
It just, I haven't touched it. It just popped up as a pop up. I'm not going to touch it. I don't need a beauty filter.
You do
Thanks.
not need a beauty filter, but I have to admit I'm curious. I wanna see what it does. Is it gonna if it would put bunny ears on us like an old school Snapchat filter,
Oh, that'd be fun.
that'd be really fun.
I
Is
don't
it gonna
need
make your
my
eyes
facial
really big?
structure changed.
Right, is it gonna, like, smooth out skin and giant eyeballs? I
Yes.
love when it
Uh-huh.
and, like, longer lashes.
Yes.
And the,
Yeah.
like, Instagram, like,
Unreal.
broad what do you call it? The contour on the nose and the highlighter on
Um,
the cheeks and the fuller lips
yes.
thing.
Mhm.
Oh, it's voice modulation. We don't wanna sound, um, abrasive.
Mar-a-Lago face, that's what it is. Yes, it gives you Mar-a-Lago face.
Yes.
No, no thanks.
No, that's shocking.
Wow.
I have no idea why that's happening. I don't know why it's happening only to you. Um, but I kind of do wanna see it. So if it ever pops up for me, I'm gonna turn it on. And you're gonna see maybe it puts, like, little sparkles around. I didn't really have time to do my hair this morning, maybe it's gonna, like, fix it up.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I have no idea, but that's appalling that
Sorry, I
it's a
didn't mean to
feminist show.
derail us. I just thought it was hilarious that in our
Uh,
first feminist episode,
yeah, no, that's not
it's like,
derailing,
"Would you
that's
like a beauty filter, ladies?"
oh my god, I really do wanna see what it does. I wanna jump in and talk about I'm gonna put the link back in again because that was a worthwhile distraction, Melissa, a worthwhile distraction for sure. Excuse me. So, um here is the link to our story. I just put it in the chat. Let's talk about the SAVE Act for a moment because
Yes.
I I there's so many atrocities hitting us every day that I feel like I don't that's really weird. My kitchen light just came on, you guys.
Hmm,
I didn't touch it. Ooh, it's a spooky morning here, isn't
it
it?
is.
Beauty filters and additional lights popping on. So let's talk about the SAVE Act. I wasn't aware of this particular atrocity until I saw a note that you wrote maybe a couple weeks ago now
Yeah.
where you were calling out senators about the SAVE Act. And I saw it and was like, we need to write about this. And I want this to be the kickoff story for Fine Feminists. So you started it. Can
I
you
did.
share a bit about
I did.
what it is, how you heard about it? Has it passed yet? Like, give some background about the SAVE Act.
I got, like, a little, bump, because my phone, the way I save things, sometimes it'll come back and give me a reminder of things that I saved that I haven't gone back to in a while, and one of those things was the SAVE Act, and I opened it up and,
Yeah.
so this is an act that has passed the House, but it's been sitting with the Senate for months, and I think there's a lot of reasons as to why that is. So the SAVE Act alleges to be for the purpose of election security so that non-US citizens don't vote, which is absurd because non-US citizens already
vote.
don't vote. That's
Right.
already in our law. It's been established through countless audits that if
Yes.
there is election interference and issues with elections, that particular problem is not one of them. It's so far
No.
below 1% of any election issues that it's really a non-issue. But what the SAVE Act addresses is the basis for citizenry in terms of the right to vote is based on the birth certificate. That's what they're hinging everything around, which is fine, except that Christians have been telling everybody for hundreds of years that if you get married, you take your husband's last name. And
Yes.
so we do. That is the dutiful thing that we do. And something like 79% of married women in America have taken their husband's last name, which
Yes.
then gives us that differentiation from our birth certificate. So, what the SAVE Act does is it defers back to an act from 2004, I believe. I should have written down the name of the other act, but what it does is determine it's the same guidelines as the Real ID. So, you have to bring in official, certified, direct from the source, certified documentation for every step in the name change process. So if you've been married, you need to bring the marriage certificate certified along with the birth certificate. If you've been divorced, you have to bring the birth certificate, the marriage license, and the divorce decree. If your husband has died, you need the death certificate. So every single step in the process has to be documented with a certified document direct from the government source that issues that. So this is the requirement for the Real ID. So a lot of us already have the Real ID. I have a
Right.
Real ID.
I don't
I
yet. I
have
need to
a
get one, but I don't.
passport. Yeah, but my passport expires in a couple of months. So I was already going to have to update my passport. So I'm going to have all these documents anyway. Um, the thing that's concerning to me, because if you have a current voter registration, you should be good as long as you don't move before November or change your name before November and you have an active registration. However, we know that voter roll purges are a thing. Here in Virginia, we had over 100,000 voters purged from our rolls before the last election, which was highly suspect. And Texas had hundreds of thousands of voters purged from the rolls before the last election.
Yeah.
So what I'm cautioning anyone who has had their name changed, whether it's a married woman, a transgender person, or anyone who's changed. People change their name for many
Yeah.
reasons. Some people come from highly abusive families and they change their last name to sort of detach themselves from that.
Yep.
But anyone who is in this position, I would strongly, strongly encourage as a tool of empowerment to go ahead and get your documents. If you act now, you probably don't have to pay the rush shipping and rush processing, which will bring your costs down substantially. But you need to have your certified birth certificate and a certified document for every link in the chain of your name changes. I've been married. My first husband died. My second husband, I divorced him. So I have a string of documents that I have to get across 2 states now in order to be able to update my passport and in case my voter registration somehow gets selected as fraudulent or
Right.
is curtailed for whatever reason.
And yeah, I'm just laughing to myself because we know, and I don't have the data point in front of me, but we do know that increasingly women skew more Democrat and men are skewing more Republican as they vote.
Mhm.
That disparity is getting worse as voters get younger. It also impacts the dating pool because young women will not date
Yeah.
Republican men, which
Mhm.
I wouldn't either. And I have a story I'm working on about that. Um, so wouldn't it be convenient if a bunch of women, oops, have been purged from voter rolls? And we know that it's 79% of all US women, and it's interestingly 90% of conservative women change their name.
Yeah. Mhm.
So those numbers are staggering. if it impacts polling and voting. I want to dive into, like, as we were researching this article, it really made me think back on my earliest days of voting
Mhm.
and the suffragettes before me and what the 19th Amendment has done for us. It really made me think about the like the messaging again that I'm seeing in the media that's harmful for women, and one of them is the repeal the 19th
Yeah.
movement, which it that movement seems crazy, and people are like, that could never happen. It's an amendment. It's the Overton window that Lawrence and I are always talking
Yes.
about, and many of us are talking about. If the goalpost is repeal the 19th, boy, it sure makes things like a household vote where the husband says so, or oops, women have to, like 79% of women have to jump through most unreasonable hoops to go vote, seem very normal, right?
Yeah.
And
And like
perhaps even,
we've talked before about there was a day and time prior to 2016 that we would say, "Oh, the Roe versus Wade isn't going anywhere."
of
You know,
course
and we
not.
were called sensationalist or
Yes.
alarmist for even
Yeah.
questioning, and it did go
Yes.
somewhere. It went
Yeah.
away.
Like we
So,
all knew it
yeah.
would. There was
Mhm.
never a question the minute that
Right.
Trump won, it was like Roe v. Wade is gone.
Gone. Right.
And, when it comes to voting, who I really want to get in on this conversation is Rachel from Two
Yes.
Votes. So, Rachel, I'm going to go ahead and add you um, because I feel like it's only going to elevate this conversation to have your point of view here as well. Okay. I have invited our co-host. Let's see through the magic of Substack how long it takes for this to happen. Oh, there she is.
Hello.
Super
He's
quick.
here.
Good morning, Rachel. It is so good to see your face.
I am anxiously awaiting presentation of the beauty filter because I'm in my crone era. I haven't
Same.
I haven't put I haven't put makeup on since the day after my 40th birthday.
I love that.
Wow.
It was a gift to myself. I stopped shaving my legs and I stopped putting on makeup every morning. I wake up now. I despite living in the Pacific Northwest, I put sunscreen on every morning. All
Yes.
those years in
Still
Florida,
important.
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Um,
Still
but like,
important.
Healthcare, though.
where's
That's
my
healthcare.
beauty filter?
Oh my gosh. Let us know if it pops up. Melissa,
Oh,
I think you're
I
the
will be
lucky one here.
selecting it. I will be selecting it for certain. But when you guys were talking about this earlier, I was thinking all of this comes down to this sort of exaggerated performance of gender, which is what you get in these environments, right? In you've got this hyper masculinized, performative, you know, it- cruelty is not just the point; it is in fact the credential for this environment,
Right.
and
Hold on. I have to
it's
pause and underline that cruelty is not the point, it's the credential.
it it
It's beautiful
it
language. You
is
always have beautiful language, but wow.
it's what they are. It's what they are doing. And so you get the hyper feminized masculine or the hyper feminized Marilago face or, whatever you want to call it, or the heavy makeup, the performance of femininity,
Yes.
and
The
then you
excessive
get the real
surgery
far
too.
extreme, even like Katie Britt, and her sort of baby fundy voice that
Yeah.
makes like it hurts my soul every time I hear it because it's first of all completely disingenuous, but then also we force people into these gendered boxes, and I've reached the point where in a lot of environments and I'm not saying this that I don't identify as female. I am femme presenting. I'm female. It is what it is. I've delivered children, whatever. But I also exist in like motorcycling spaces. I don't want anybody to know what my gender is. That's not your goddamn business. I'm going faster than you are. Try to keep up. Like,
Ooh, I didn't know
so
this about
This
you.
is why I love Rachel.
Right.
So like there, and my partner and I talk about this a lot because he was, a D1 athlete and a swimmer, and we have a lot of conversations about trans kids in sports, and I'm like, for me, because I'm very much a systems thinker and I see these sort of forms of oppression, right? It's and part of the reason that I use Stephen Miller as an example so frequently is because he is the prototype. He is cruelty as credential. Everything he does is death by paperwork. He's like everything, and also he understands, I mean, the SAVE Act exists as part of his ideological process. He didn't write it, but his ideology had a hand in it. And I think that when you look at what is happening within this regime and the approach that everybody is taking, it is dangerous because he's building systems. He knows how to circumnavigate legislation by simply creating machinery and rules and rigor and all of these things that are going to inhibit everyone's existence, especially women, people of color, indigenous people. Every bit of cruelty becomes the credential. There is no exception. And the idea of that is also why everybody in this regime understands how expendable they are, right? Because there is no exception. Every last one of these people understands that they are on a tightrope and they have to perform the oppression for everyone.
And look at how Kristi Noem has to perform the oppression as a walking, like the first time she came out in this fucking Lara Croft getup, I was like, what is that? This isn't real. It's not real.
It's hypersexualized authoritarianism. I'm like, like, you look at this and you think, how am I taking this shit seriously? Because these people are so performative. Everything about them is performance. There is no sort of understanding of that. So what you get is like hardliners over administrators. You get punishers over problem solvers. These are all things that are very gatekeepers over stewards, right? These are all of the things that in the regime of sort of aggressive pursuit of the performance of what we're doing. That's where we're at.
It is really interesting how many sort of dolled up, attractive women are defending and executing on this regime's plan. Like, I mean, defending it from a public relations perspective and communications perspective with Carolyn Levitt, Kristi Noem out there in her, what did you say, Lara Croft costume? Do you think they would be willing to put a middle-aged, no makeup face in front of people? Like, it's off-brand because they do allow women to be in power, but they have to be hot.
Look at the women in his first administration. They were not attractive. So a fundamental shift has happened in that time for their performance of gender, and they've truly just leaned into a cartoonish degree where you've got Pete Hegseth running around like a macho man, but he has a makeup room in the Pentagon. So they're all performing. They're all performing these very Hollywood stylized ideas. That's why I say this is a reality television regime. That's the only thing that Donald Trump has ever remotely done okay in his whole life is reality television. It's the only thing he knows how to do is project fake scenarios and fake power. So that's just leached through his whole administration. And you've got now these women that look like they're pulled out of Hollywood. They have Hollywood aesthetic instead of the government bureaucratic aesthetic of Sarah Huckabee. We're not shaming anybody, but there's just such a stark difference in the women that he's chosen. The Attorney General, Lindsay, who is just a Barbie and completely
Yeah.
unqualified for that position,
Pam
to the
Bondi.
point where you have judges saying, why are you still signing your name on things? This isn't your job. You're not qualified. You know,
Right.
but you
Yeah.
sure look good. You sure look
Right.
good.
Yeah.
Goodness
Yeah.
gracious.
I think that, it's a system that just treats domination as virtue. That's the drive that is sort of the hypermasculinity and certainly patriarchal and infantilizing women. Um, it's where we're at, and it's why we need feminism so desperately, you know.
Yeah, it is. Oh, excuse me. I would love to shift and talk about, can we talk about the first time we each voted? Because
Yeah.
I want to really shift this conversation to, as fascinating as this all is, to the vote.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
as I led with when I introduced the theme of this show, as a Gen X woman, I came of age with unprecedented rights as a girl and then growing into a woman. And I thought those rights were inviolate. Like, I took them for granted. I had like access to abortion, yes, but also the idea of just I could go into any career I wanted. I was going to go to college. I was going to start my career before I, had a family. And I knew I would be able to rely on myself because I could have a credit card and a home and a car and all of the things, right? On top of that, as an absolute given was the right to vote. Like
Yeah.
unquestionably. Um, and as we researched and talked about this story, Melissa and I, the Blue Amp story that we just wrote, I remembered that I'll tell my story first. I didn't vote the first time I could. I was barely 18. I was a freshman in college, and it was the Bush-Dukakis election.
Yep.
Dukakis was not exactly a candidate to get fired up about. And I grew up in a pretty apolitical house. I didn't even know at the time that I had a Democratic voting mother and a Republican voting father. Like, they never really, I have no memory of people talking politics in my home with me, like my parents or other visitors or family in the home. And so the election came around and I was kind of like, and I just didn't vote. And I'm ashamed of that now. And it's never happened again. It's sacred now that it's like, oh, no,
Yeah.
no, I show up and I vote.
Yeah.
Melissa, you had a fascinating first vote story.
Yeah. I
Can
grew
you
up
share that
in
one?
super rural South Carolina. My small town had a little over 800 people when I lived there.
Oh boy,
And
it's small.
all white Christian fundamentalist, basically the whole town was. And the first time I went to vote, it was in the voting precinct was in the little train station, little historic train station. And I'll never forget, I walked in and an old lady from town who I knew, who went to the Baptist church, like I knew her, um, checks my ID, and then she pulls out the ballot and goes, "Okay, honey, Bush is right here. Go on in there." And she just told me, the election official just told me who to vote for.
Oh
And
my
this was
God.
completely, she was doing this with every young person that came in the door. So it wasn't even,
Oh,
and I
bless
did.
her
And I
heart.
voted for Bush and then went on to fight his wars. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Isn't it? It's a crazy thing because we have all heard politicians getting called out for flip flopping. Remember that when that was a big term? You flip flopped.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I've always been like, or they've grown and learned. Like,
Yeah.
I abstained. You voted Republican. That
Yes.
Look at us now.
Right.
We didn't flip
That was
flop.
the
We
one
evolved.
and only, because by the next election, I had been in the military for a year. That didn't happen again.
Ugh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
wow. Wow. Rachel, what's your first voting story?
So my first vote was 1988. My father was a Republican. My dad was a Democrat. My parents divorced in 72. So they'd been long divorced. Not only had they been long divorced, but they lived on very different parts of the country because they should not have shared any geography whatsoever. But my mom took me to the polling place with her. We read about every single thing like it was a homework assignment. Everything that we were voting on had to be analyzed and debated and critiqued. And even if we agreed with anything that these politicians had to say, Dan Quayle's a fucking moron and you can't vote for that. And
wow, that's amazing.
My mom was absolutely a radical. My mom was a hellraiser from, and I wrote about her last month for her 80th birthday. And she and I have always had an incredibly complicated relationship. For the last in 2018, I posted a picture a couple of weeks ago. I dragged my kids out of bed. I bribed them with pancakes and took them to vote at 5:00 in the morning. You might have recognized the Coral Springs Library in that picture.
Oh my gosh.
That was our polling place.
From the same town, same suburb, Coral Springs,
same, I lived there for 40 years.
I lived there from age 4 until I left for college.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And Lawrence too. I mean, that's where we went to high school together. That coincidence will never not blow my mind. It will always blow my mind.
It is an incredibly small world. But I feel like the introduction of people to voting as a parent, you're taking your kids, dragging them out of bed, making it important for them. I certainly wasn't shoving my ideology down my kids' throat, but they've all been raised by me. They've all been radicalized by me. Like, if you want to listen to a 28-year-old kid who pays attention and reads the paper and understands what's going on in the world. My oldest, also everybody calls the boomer. My oldest son, who has a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, like the number of times you see "Okay, boomer" in our group chat is hilarious because he's just a grumpy old shit.
Oh my gosh, that's wild.
And
I have to interrupt and say that we have another Coral Springs person in the chat, Karen C. I lived in Coral Springs for 4 years as a kid.
Oh,
Karen,
God.
That's crazy. It is. Yeah, that's wild.
It's an incredibly small world we live in.
Mm-hmm. I love celebrating these stories and the very different ways that we've come to voting. Melissa, in the story, we of course end it with calls to action.
Yes.
Because what is writing about an issue like this without having calls to action? Let's dive in a bit here of what can we do at this stage? It's passed to the House, which mind blown.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we think it's been sitting in the Senate so long? Is this unpopular?
It is unpopular, but my fear is also they're going to strategize the timing of it, and suddenly it's going to become a hot button issue. I anticipate there's going to be some scandal that's going to emerge maybe in August, July, August. There's going to be a big scandal. They're going to uncover lots of undocumented citizens have been voting. Can you believe that? And so now we need to lock this down. We need to bring up that SAVE Act again. We need to go ahead and get that pushed through because look at all of this manufactured nonsense that really didn't happen, but we're going to tell our base that it happened because this is their playbook. Like, this is the best thing though about this regime is that they're not too bright and they're very transparent, and we're starting to learn their strategies. Okay. And if we learn their strategies, then we can prepare ourselves. So whatever they're planning to do with the SAVE Act, which is not good and is not going to be beneficial to the average American, one thing that you can do is be empowered. How empowering would it be if you show up at your voting precinct and they say, uh-oh, there's a problem with your registration, and you whip out your folder with all of your binder documents. Okay, I don't give a fuck. I'm here to vote. Check them. So being prepared is being empowered so you can show up and have everything in order. You've got all your documents, you know, and aside from that, I've been telling everybody they need to be building their go bag anyway. And these are copies of, you need to have copies of these documents in your go bag.
Yeah.
So just as a precaution, I would say absolutely every married woman, anybody, any transgender person or anyone who has changed their name, start now. In Virginia, you can walk into your DMV and it's $14 to get a certified copy of your birth certificate. So go ahead and start taking those steps now. You save the rushing, and you feel empowered when you know their strategy, you know what they're trying to pull, and you go ahead and prepare yourself.
Oh my gosh,
I'd
Lefty
also
Prof in the chat. Oh, sorry. One
no,
quick
go
thing
ahead.
says, I put all my docs in an envelope labeled "Don't fuck with me."
Yes.
Yes.
Recommended.
I think that everyone needs to have a passport. Like,
Yes.
Yes.
I think we ought to be very pragmatic about the expectation that at some point we may have to hit a border.
Yeah.
Like that everyone should have a border plan in place. And I'm already so I run a company. My company is actually incorporated in Canada, which gives me a 12-month path to permanent residency. I leave in 2 weeks. We're going to Portugal. We're going to get a place in Portugal. So we have a plan B, plan C. Like, if you don't have like a real plan, you need to figure out, because there is a reason people of south of the border have literally walked into this country. But at some point, we need to consider that we may be the ones walking toward a border.
Yes.
That's fucking real. And if we don't acknowledge that there is the potential need for that, then we are not paying attention to what's going on around us.
Wow. We have a question in the chat from Des saying, do I need all that if I have a passport?
Yes. If your name changed, you need that.
Yeah.
If your name didn't change, do we think it's safe to simply have a passport?
I think it is. I mean, I was rereading the bill this morning, and I got to tell you, the level of ambiguity that gets written into all of this shit and the cross-referencing between sections is kind of takes a lot. And as best of my reading, as someone who is not an attorney, I think that I would walk in the door fully prepared with both a birth certificate with my name, any provenance of my names, and my passport. That and I just went through a divorce, so I have like all of my paperwork together, all bundled and ready to go. But you know, I vote in Florida. I live in Oregon, but I vote in Florida because I still own a home in Florida. Frankly, Florida needs my vote more, hopefully.
You want to know something crazy? Is my mom still gets voter stuff for me.
Yeah.
I never voted from the county where she lives, because by the time I was able to vote in Florida, the one election that I passed on was the only one when I was living in Florida, the only presidential election. I was in a different county because I was in college. I think I could vote in Florida, and I haven't lived there since the early 90s. Talk about voter fraud. I'm not doing it. If anybody's paying attention, FBI. That thought has crossed my mind. If Florida needs my vote more than Washington does.
The state of Florida has made voting by mail, especially in the 26 election, significantly harder. So I'm actually just going to fly to Florida and vote. Now, I am fully aware of the level of privilege that statement says. I can afford to hop on an airplane, fly 6 hours, vote, do what I need to do. I have everything I need to do that. The point of all of these bills is to take people who are disenfranchised and keep them from voting, whether they are white, whether they are broke, whether they are black, whether they are female. That is the point, to continue to disenfranchise people. That's procedural disenfranchisement. It's administrative violence.
1,000%. Beyond sharing this article, because we would love your restacks and not just because we want the story to do well, but because this is such important information. Do we think it's time to take action? We lead the article by tagging senators who are on Substack and saying, what are you going to do? Is now the time? Or
I think everybody should be tagged. I think we should be fucking insufferable.
Yes.
Like, I don't know how else to put it. We should be the loudest, most obnoxious women in the world.
Yes.
Because what we have, the one thing that we have is our whiteness. If we aren't using every goddamn bit of our whiteness, our, in my case, elder status, we're fairly close in age, Dana.
We are. Melissa's a spring chicken, but we're Gen X.
Use our every ounce of our status to just be the biggest, loudest, mouthiest bitches on this platform, on whatever platforms we have access to. Because I will absolutely be insufferable. I will talk to every goddamn person, flood the zone. That is epistemic warfare. And we have an entire population of people in the entirety of mainstream media that just can't seem to acknowledge that we are in an epistemic war. We are seeing a complete erosion of meaning, women's reframing, domestic terrorism framing. Like, what are we fucking talking about?
Rachel, because the first time I read your work, I had to look up epistemic and be like, I think I know
that's why
define
that's why I'm
epistemic
doing
warfare.
Yeah.
Define it. Yeah. What is epistemic warfare?
I started a series a while back called Epistemics for Americans, right? It's not pure, clean, philosophical epistemics, but it really is. Epistemics is, how do you know what you know? What is meaning, being, and knowing? You as a human thinking person, how do you know? And so I started breaking down like epistemics, epistemic authority. How do you know who can tell you information? How do you assign authority to people because they're researchers, because they have credentials, because they have expertise that they've brought? There's a whole series of ways that we as general humans know things. And so epistemics is the study of knowing, basically. And so I've been doing this epistemics for women or epistemics for Americans rather, because I feel like in the grand world of philosophy, it's a bunch of white dudes in ivory towers that nobody listens to. But the reality is, when you hear someone like Steve Bannon say, flood the zone, it is a literal statement of saturation. In an epistemic war, you start with saturation, enclosure, capture, selective violence. So saturation is flooding the zone. Enclosure means you've started to frame the message, domestic terrorist, Rene Good, right? And then capture is when you start seeing it pop up in institutional settings. You see it pop up at your school board. You see it pop up wherever, on a podium from Kristi Noem's face. And then selective violence is basically verbal violence, things like the president of the United States calling someone a piggy, right? That is selective violence. It is meant to shame someone and keep them down. And it's also meant to control everyone else around them with the threat of that selective violence. And so it's like, I literally have a model. There's a model. So sex ed is the model. And what I tell people is, when you see it happening, just write it down on paper. Give yourself some emotional distance from what's going on and start looking at it and dissecting what's happening. Are we seeing laddered amplification? So laddered amplification is where it starts kicking into an algorithmic expression, right? So you have a small platform will say something, and then a mid-tier platform will pick it up. And then it starts getting escalated from a really large platform. Domestic terrorism is a great one. A while back, I did one on Katie Porter. I heard, within the span of 30, 45 minutes, I heard 4 different people call her snippy. When you hear that pattern is the frame. That pattern is what you're looking for. And once you start seeing the pattern, you fucking see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that my pattern recognition is hyper aware. I am aware, but it's visible, it's legible.
Yeah.
What we have achieved, this isn't new technology, right? It's just being amplified and made more legible because of
Yes.
algorithms and social media and that sort of thing. When you think about in the earliest history, Galileo and heliocentrism and the church, that was an epistemic war as well. What we're facing today is much more legible. You can track it. You can,
Yes.
if you pay attention to what's going on, you can see it happening in real time.
Once you see it, you see it everywhere. You can
once the scales have
immediately.
been lifted,
Yes.
you clock it so quickly. And so
even the way, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, even the opening of the show, the kind of model for why the show started, seeing feminism starting to be used as a pejorative in sources like the New York Times and CBS News, like,
well,
that's
Barry Weiss
mainstream,
is not our friend
penetration.
media-wise. Yeah.
No, she really isn't. We are at the top of the hour. Any concluding statements from you, fine feminist women, that you would like to impart to our audience today?
Get your passport. Be pragmatic. Think about what your plan B is. Like, I hate to be a doom and gloom person, but this isn't going to be. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yes.
And my expectation is I will be dead before this is resolved.
Same.
I really truly believe I will be dead before this is resolved. So have a plan.
I was going to say the same exact thing. Just look back
Great minds.
at what happened with Roe versus Wade and how there were people that thought that could never happen. That was set in stone. It wasn't. None of our rights are set in stone. And so, like I said, the most empowering feeling is being prepared, is knowing that what they throw at you, you are prepared for. So yeah, get the passport, get all your documents, have them in a secure location. So if you're asked for it, just whip it out, and I just published a dystopian fiction that I wrote over 2 years ago. And I republished it.
Still too real.
I republished it to Substack, and all I did was skim through and take out some formatting things. And then last night I went through and was actually rereading it, and I got really upset because some things in the story I wrote 2.5 years ago have already
happened
to pass.
Yeah. I've looked back at a few things and thought, oh shit.
Yeah. I don't want to be alarmist, but when I've known Melissa longer, so I can say this with more confidence. When she predicts things, they happen.
Yeah, it's my brand of tism. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the tism. It's the pattern recognition. Like, that's the thing, is the patterns become so clear. And when they're clear, they're predictable. I know 4, 5, 6 steps ahead of what's going to happen. I understand that makes me difficult to live with.
Yes. Same.
That's so interesting. I'm thinking about my brother, who is lovely, but he for years has been saying things like, you draw parallels where there shouldn't be any. And I'm like, how do you not see? This is so
how do you not see? Yeah.
When I talked to him about college and my daughter, and I'm like, maybe this is the time to leave the country. He's like, why are those things tied? I'm like, why are they not tied? She's about to launch into adulthood and set up a home base somewhere. As our country is devolving, it's a pretty natural jump to say, perhaps this is the space where we leave. I don't know that it will be, but like, he can't see the pattern. Y'all,
well, because he's less impacted by it, right?
Yeah.
Like that is the male perspective versus the male perspective. There is a difference.
And feeling the pattern.
And the feeling, you have to feel the pattern because we feel it.
Yes.
We're looking around and we have already clocked the pattern, but we're also feeling that weight of it. And that's my business partner is male. And he and I go back and forth a lot because I'm like, yes, I understand your perspective. I'm going to force mine down your throat right now.
Mhm.
Oh my God. I would love to work with you, Rachel. I bet you're an amazing coworker. We kind of
That's
are coworkers today. Here we are on our team meeting. Thank you all for being part of episode 1 of Fine Feminists.
Yay!
I couldn't think of finer feminists, finer women to kickstart this journey with. And thanks to all of you in the chat. It's been so lively today. So many great voices weighing in. I love it. I have a big programmatic notice, and Lawrence, note to you, we need to post this a lot to Substack. The Daily Whatever show will be later tomorrow for Fucked Up Friday. We are going live from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern time, because that is the only time our guest could make it work. And our guest is Mike Nellis, you guys. We have like a huge guest
nice.
joining us for
Wow.
Fucked Up Friday, which is why we're moving the time. So don't be sad. Don't log in at our normal time and be like, where are they? I need my fucked up news of the week. We will be here. We will just be a bit later. So, and I can see that my connection is off. I'm kind of robot moving. I am going to go reboot my router and try all the things. So that I don't look like a robot at my next podcast in an hour. I will be on with Margaret Williams to talk about my I Write Out Loud project. And then I'll be live again at 4 p.m. Eastern for episode 4 of the I Write Out Loud
I
project.
love
My
it. Get
memoir
it,
writing
girl.
thing. You're going to have a lot of me if you want to
love it.
today. Love you all. Mean it. Thank you so
Thanks, guys.
much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.